Okay, folks, I was going to be working on Christmas orders today, but due to some tool malfunctions, I'm kind of limited. Just going to have to work on a want to project. So, my uncle gave me this Allen wrench. That's 3/4 inch. Going to make a little integral bolster knife out of this, just for fun. Let's see what happens. All right, I normally start every video off drawing out a point, but this time we've got to straighten out this Allen wrench so we can work it into proper stock size so we can draw a point. So that's the first thing, just straightening out the Allen wrench. This is tough stuff. And before anybody out there starts whining about how this makes good tools and punches and all that stuff, well, guess what? My uncle doesn't need tools or punches, so I'm going to make him a nice knife. This is the fullering tool I have temporarily attached to my power hammer. You can see how the spring fuller's made. Make one to fit in your hardy hole on your anvil. If you don't have a power hammer, that's what I used to use before I got a power hammer. Spring fuller like that fit in the hardy hole. And we're going to start off by fullering in a section here on the end of the Allen wrench. And we're just going to separate that off to be the blade. And unlike working on a spring fuller on the anvil, this power hammer will pinch that steel completely in two. So I have to be very careful to not fuller it too thin. So I'm just taking my time, get the width where I want it. That's getting pretty close. Maybe just a little more. Just light taps. And I believe that's going to do. So we're going to draw it out just a little bit for length. And then we're going to fuller it out for width. Now, got a little fullering tool here, and it's just a bit of flat stock with a piece of round stock tack welded on. We're going to use that to fuller the blade to make it wider. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm using that little fullering tool I just whipped up in 2 minutes. And I'm fullering the blade out for width. Now you can do that on the anvil with a cross-peen hammer. Just even things up a little bit. It's still not wide enough, so we're going to have to go back to the fullering tool again. But you can see how just one pass with that fullering tool has already started to widen it. Fuller this side, roll it over, and do a little fullering on this side. Still working that blade for width. And now we're going to work the length and just even things up. Even up our dimension there a little bit. And that's just about the thickness and width I want. And now I'm going to bring the blade, the edge steel, the blade steel over to one side. And I'm going to hammer the corner back into itself to keep from getting a cold shutter fish lips. And just to move things along a little bit quicker, I'm going to go back to the anvil, or back to the power hammer rather, and use the power hammer to rough in the point. You know that's easy to do on the anvil. You've all seen me do it 100 times if you've watched my videos. Now I'm going to refine my point a little bit. Just roughing the blade in. Come back in and knock that reverse curve into the blade. Now I can work my bevels. I'm just going to start forging my bevels in. And as always, as I forge the bevels in, that compresses the steel along the edge, or spreads the steel along the edge and compresses it along the spine, causing the blade to straighten back out. And that's the reason for putting in the reverse curve. Keeps the blade from having a really awkward banana-shaped curve after you've hammered in the bevels. You can see how that's straightening the blade back out. And out here toward the tip, it's actually going to put an upsweep in the tip. Now I don't really want a really pronounced clip point on this blade. And you can see how that's already starting to sweep up into a clip point. So the way to fix that will be when I hammer in my distal taper along the point, it'll take some of that upsweep out. And you can see it already has. It's straightened out that pronounced clip that was developing. It's pretty much for roughing out the blade. Work on just refine the profile a little bit. It's pretty good. And we'll just leave it, just warm it up a little bit. Brush it off. There we go. And we'll leave it right here on the anvil to cool. Put in a hardy cutter. I've got way too much stock and I need to cut it off. So when I'm cutting a round bar, or in this case the hex, I like to be careful and cut all the way around the bar, just lightly mark it so that I cut evenly. Didn't get all the way around that time. So we'll go back and just continue to cut all the way around the bar, keep it even. No, and drop it on the floor at least once. That has to be done. And now, since we've cut all the way around, I can go ahead and whack it off. Just knock it right off there. There we go. Now I'm going to come back to the power hammer and use the fullering tool again. I'm going to fuller from both directions and isolate the stock that's going to be the tang of the knife. Again, I don't want to fuller too thin. So I'm just taking my time, keeping a constant eye on it. That's actually pretty good. Now I can draw out from there and draw out my tang. It's going to be an integral bolster. And the tang will be inset back into the handle, whatever kind of handle I use. To draw it out to be fairly long, so I got plenty of steel up in that handle, keep the blade and the whole construction nice and strong. That's actually looking pretty good. Just one more pass here. I believe that's pretty much going to do it for what tang length I need. Yep. Now we're going to go ahead and put my touch mark in that blade. Just stamp it in. Straighten the blade back up. Make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. And that's looking pretty good. All right, got a little warm in here. Had to take the jacket off. So here we are, all finished up. Blade's right around 5 inches. I'm gonna have the part of the hexagonal Allen key stock right here. I'll, of course, clean this up on the grinder. I think I'm going to fit a little antler handle on it. It's going to make a nice little Skinner. I think I'll finish it up and give it back to my uncle. Thanks for watching. God bless and have a great day.